I am in love with nature. I am terrified of nature. Spiders, snakes, sharks. And
oh, wow. That's
because of movies.
That's a whole list.
Yeah, I blame Steven Spielberg, and he knows it.
Laura Dern, welcome to Skip Intro.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
The last time we did this podcast was like 6 years ago. It was for Marriage Story. There were no cameras. There was no great hair, by the way.
Yeah,
both
the
of us are
great
giving
hair,
good hair.
the fancy digs.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, it is chic in here.
And I'm so happy to talk to you again. I always want to talk to you, but
And you're my favorite person to talk to.
Yeah, good. I'll take it. I remember in our conversation loving talking to you about LA in the 70s, and we did all this stuff. And I was thinking about when I went back, and I always want to refresh my memory and looking at your IMDb page. And it was so interesting that they have you as 1980 is your first credited performance in Foxes, right?
Yes.
And I'm thinking 40 years later, in 2020, you win the Oscar for Marriage Story. What the fuck? Like, that is a 40-year career where you have been, like, so think of all of that. Most people, 40 years into something, are not winning Oscars. I could actually probably do the math and be like, you're the only one that has. But it is amazing, just the consistency and the, and I know ups and downs and bright bursts and then lulls and back up again. But it is just extraordinary. And since Marriage Story, you've really been in my zeitgeist, obviously, because now I've been at Netflix and I've seen all this stuff. But like, you're working more than ever. And on top of it, you just walked in your first Paris Fashion Week. So get me to that. When I saw that, I was like, I've circled that. I was like, I have to talk to her on the pod about that.
Well, okay, first of all, it is beautiful to get to talk to you about, origins and the life of an artist. And you're, so brilliantly eloquent about, not only the body of work of a filmmaker or an actor, but also the journey of getting to do what we love and all we go through, as you said, the highs and the lows. And I think I was pretty prepared for that being an actor's life because I was raised by two actors. So, and my godmother was an actor, and I this is the life I know growing up here and watching what it takes to be dedicated and committed to having a lifetime career. Amazingly, I don't think of my career as a long career, having just gotten off the phone with my mother, who's working on a screenplay, having just finished a movie, and my dad, who's going on location next week, and they're both 89 years old. So I'm midstream, like I haven't even begun. With that said, I'm ready to try everything. Now back to Paris. Most importantly, my brilliant friend Gabriella Hearst, who has an incredible fashion line. We share our deep commitment environmentally in terms of climate service and climate-focused work. And she wanted to send a message to the rest of the fashion world by building this season entirely on dead stock from the season before. And so there was literally no waste. 97% built on what already existed that wasn't used, because there is so much waste in fashion. And so I, loved the opportunity to help that messaging, but I didn't quite understand she actually meant like walk in a fashion show. It was just, will you come to support it? We'll talk to the Financial Times. We'll talk to everybody about what we're doing. But I actually had a beautiful time.
Did you practice your walk? Were you nervous at all?
I didn't. And I really wasn't nervous because it felt anthemic of a cause I cared about. So I wasn't thinking about walking in a fashion show. But my daughter Jaya's bestie, Kaya Gerber, did give me advice that morning, which I really appreciate.
What did she tell you?
She was like, oh my God, you have to be true to yourself just like you are as an actor. You can't play model. Just, be yourself. And so I thought that was amazing advice, because I think I would have been terribly nervous if I thought I was meant to
do the walk.
Yeah. Become some kind of, go
Oh,
model.
I did Audible. I was so excited. And I just love what's happening too in fashion now, where we're not just looking at, 17-year-old women, young women, they're really doing generational actors and people of note in the world. And it just makes it so much more exciting.
Just like the industry has changed, where we can be having this conversation about height of career in, hopefully, in 50s, 60s, 70s for female actors. Also in fashion, when you and I were starting, the first time I was asked to walk a runway, I was a 12-year-old.
Wow.
Because all the models that were walking in shows were like 12 and 13-year-old children. And so it's just even
And you were
that
tall.
shift.
Obviously, you were tall.
Yeah, I was
You
5'10"
had
when I was 12.
Wow.
So
And did you
no.
walk, or was your mom like?
no, yeah. I mean, thank God she let me act. I don't know how I snuck behind her back and, did auditions and got a part so then she would let me.
I'm just going to say it right now. I love Diane Ladd. That's Laura's mom. Love her very much. Which also brings me to another thing I was thinking about. So Jaya, listeners, that's Laura's daughter. And I can't even remember when I first met your daughter, but I just immediately bonded with her. I don't know, her energy. I'm going to sound so woo-woo in LA and vibey,
they
so
have
forgive me.
a true
But like
friendship.
I'm just like, Jaya! Just like, let's just connected with her. I think the world of her. I think she's so talented and wonderful. And putting that and my feelings aside, I think about you in the middle of these two generations. You are vibing very heavily right now, right? It's Laura Dern. Like the whole world is like Laura Dern. She's everyone's favorite actress, favorite celebrity. And Jaya is just about to start.
Yeah.
Right? She's just entering, she's in college, she's studying, she's just about to be unleashed on the world. What kind of Hollywood is she inheriting versus what your mom went through and then you went through?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. I mean, it's an amazing thing. My son at the same time also is about to release his first record. And so he's in the world of finding his art and his voice. And Jaya, a touch younger than him, is in college and discovering her way. But she did exactly what I did, which is basically while she's this amazing activist and learner and doing extraordinary things and studying extraordinary things, not really knowing what her commitment might be yet to storytelling. She was like, yeah, well, I'm doing some self-taping and stuff, but, I'm just here focused on school. Hey, so Mom, I got an audition, but it was really cool, young female filmmaker. Oh, yeah, Mom, actually, I have a call back for a thing. Oh, yeah, Mom, I got a part. So Jaya just acted for the first time in a movie. So it's just amazing because she really is entering the world. And this generation, they have a sense of authority that I don't think we had. And what is so beautiful to watch, thanks to so many extraordinary pioneer female artists in all the positions of journalism, acting, writing, directing that we never had to look up to in the same way. They were there. They just weren't getting the equity, the support, and the leadership positions where we could see them and identify that we as women could do more than one thing. The one thing was already so lucky. Like, don't complain and try to do more than one thing. But for this generation, storytelling means I might act and write and direct. I'm exploring it. I'm discovering what my skill set is. I might make documentaries. I might make features. I might make television. I'm just like that energy of the determination to make a difference through story matters. And what moves me so much about Jaya is she's very tied to, which is what she's studying also right now in college. It's very tied to wanting it to matter at a very devastating time in our country and globally. She wants to see that you can reach people and make a difference through storytelling. So I'm sure she'll do amazing things. And I think this generation knows what to look out for and be cautionary about certain things in ways we didn't know.
Right.
So those are all the good pieces of news.
Their world and the Hollywood that they're inheriting is so different than the one, like you said, that we walked through, right? And even looking at your body of work, it was so interesting because, again, Smooth Talk was your breakthrough role. No, Ramblin' Rose was the breakthrough role. No, Wild at Heart. No, Blue Velvet. It was like everyone, they were all like all Mask, like all of your stuff when you were younger was your breakthrough role, right? And then Ramblin' Rose obviously got you and your mom nominated at the same time. That's a fun Oscar fact for all you fun Oscar people out there that love it. First time mother and daughter nominated. And then you did a big global giant Jurassic Park, huge popcorn movie, tentpole, blockbuster. And then you're like, yeah, now I'm going to go do this TV thing. Now I'm going to go do something like Citizen Ruth. Now I'm going to go do, which I've always loved about your career, which is why I think you're still in it in the way you are and why we're here to talk about Jay Kelly.
Yay.
Which is all about that a little bit.
Yeah. And it's funny because Noah and I had the privilege of doing a Q&A last night, which I can speak to, but it was really beautiful to see how we were raised with a very similar resonant theme about what we wanted to do with our careers in storytelling and who inspired us to find our way to storytelling. And what I will say about that whole journey that you so beautifully described and all the movies that meant so much to me that I've been so lucky to be part of, I have to pay such tribute to my parents and their friends that I was raised around. Specifically actors who were working in 70s cinema. Like that 70s cinema raised me, as did Bruce Dern and Diane Ladd, and Shelley Winters and all these amazing people I was raised by, because it was about the work and it was about trusting a filmmaker's vision, which brings me back to Jay Kelly because Noah and I both have such a deep love and ultimately both had an incredible friendship with Peter Bogdanovich. I think we all feel Peter and many others who raised Noah through cinema, through the depth of storytelling, and in actual friendships and sort of father figure-like friendships. And so the fact that we share the love of our heroes, our mentors, our guides to storytelling, you feel that embedded in Jay Kelly. So that a moment comes when Noah Baumbach, who is my family, says, hey, ready for the next ride? Because we've said since Marriage Story, I've got to be in everything. And Jay Kelly, I just am so in love with this movie. Oh, I'm in love with Noah's filmmaking, the craft, the cinematography, the discipline in the shots and the framing, the radical precision in he and Emily Mortimer's script is bonkers. The perfect poetry, all the lines and all the story arcs, and how they all support what is this journey of this movie star character that George Clooney plays in questioning whether or not he missed his own life. But the iconography of the movie star is so brilliantly used by Noah because the whole point is it's about the movie star as us. It's everything we've projected onto the movie star over our lifetime or the movie itself. Our longing, our love stories, our mishaps, our resentments, what we should have gotten, what we didn't get.
What we didn't.
All of it, And so I feel like it's so beautiful that, yes, it's this homage to cinema in this way, but the homage is our homage to what cinema has given our life journey, while saying to us, no matter what our vocation, what our job, what our commitments, we're all wondering if we missed it, and we all don't want to wake up too late.
On the face of it, it does feel like a movie about Hollywood, right? And you play a publicist, Liz, which is just spot on and great.
Why should we be chasing around an infant where we have actual living kids at home who are aging by the minute?
Because we are supporting a great artist who shares with other human beings what it is to be a human being.
We're human too, Ron. More so, maybe.
It's not about us. Our love isn't conditional. We're like parents or imaginary friends. We vanish under cloak of night.
He's not our family or our friend.
He was just at Vivian's Sweet 16.
Were you at Daisy's graduation?
I think it was small.
You weren't invited.
for me, it was super moving because it's about midlife and anybody, what choices have you made? Where are you in your life? Where are you in the fact that you're never going to get some things back? What can you repair? What can you do in the time you have left? And at that point, it's so clear that there's more time behind you than in front of you. And I was just like super moved by that. And I love the conceit of a movie star and all of that stuff because it gives us that metaphor of our own projection of ourselves, and that like the script is so good. Okay, so let's talk about Liz, because you have a Liz in your life. Everyone is an actor.
Yes.
It's a publicist. You're I believe playing someone we both know well, which I think you did a very good homage to her, especially with the bangs.
How can I play people when I don't see people, touch people?
Don't touch people.
Talk to me a little bit about playing her.
Well, again, why I think it's so fun to have close relationship with your filmmaker, because, there's architecture in storytelling that I didn't understand so much as a young actor. I thought I was coming in to do the best job I could do, and it was my scenes in this other thing that I felt I was unwieldy and I had no control over. But in fact, as you have the privilege of working with filmmakers who believe in the collaborative art of filmmaking and want everyone to be a team, you can start to designate what your part of the story is. And my role, along with Adam Sandler, who plays George Clooney, Jay Kelly's manager, we are there to represent the story of the loyalty that surrounds and protects and builds up the artist, the celebrity, the movie star. But for the arc of Adam Sandler's character, Ron, he needs to have a wake-up call to the same pattern we've been in for almost 20 years, which is we are always sacrificing at the service of this larger-than-life being, Jay Kelly, that's not even Jay Kelly.
Yeah.
And because of circumstances, Liz has this wake-up call where she doesn't want to lose another thing that matters. And as Noah so beautifully said to me when he explained, what my job would be in the film, and why he wanted it to be me to be a character that we would feel the loss of and hope would come back or assume would come back, which I think is why he felt it was important to have a known actor. He was thinking through all these decisions, right? My character's journey ends on a promise and maybe a goodbye. You don't know. And so he really liked that because it created a longing for something to be different. But as he said to me, you have to show us that at some point in our lives, we have to get off the train.
Right. We have to make a choice.
I mean, being with George and Adam, who were really my partners in all our scenes, was the time of my life. George and I have known each other for 40 years.
I was just going to say, where did you first, because he was in LA too for really young. And
really young. And we worked together on his first movie. I was 15. He was in his maybe mid-20s. And it was his first feature. And it was a horrible, never finished horror film. And we got sent to Budapest, Hungary, where we made this movie together. But we became real, true, deep friends. And there was such a loyalty. Adam, I had only met socially. And then to be gifted with Adam Sandler and his family. Because I'm sorry, you can't talk about Adam Sandler without talking about his family, because he is such a loyalist and he is such an unbelievable family man and father. But I think Jackie Sandler's the coolest person I've ever met.
Yeah, she really is. I was just going to say Jackie is pretty
amazing.
Great.
The most amazing person I've ever met. Again, those love stories, you feel that kind of connection in the movie, and we'll all be working together forever.
And it's interesting because, like, how you've worked with Noah, obviously, a lot. George hasn't. No, Adam has. This
Yes.
is his second film with him. They did Meyerowitz Stories, obviously. So it's so interesting that Noah that shows up for all three of you, because everyone has that same feeling when they talk about Noah. They talk about just, when George has talked about it, and obviously Adam, they talk about the same things about him, and just like what it's like to be in a Noah Baumbach film they love. And I have to ask you, because I have a couple favorite lines. Do you have, was there any line that you got to say or in the film at large that you had?
I love the dialogue between Adam and I on the train platform. I will say, I think it's my favorite on-screen kiss I've ever been part of.
Wow.
So it's like, for me, it's such a cinema kiss.
Yeah.
Where every craftsperson involved in making it right, all the gifts he was looking for in terms of telling that story, it felt very beautiful to me. But in terms of lines, from Riley Keough in the film, to hear her say, "You want to know how I knew you didn't want to spend time with me? You didn't spend time with me."
I mean, that line, that's my, I mean,
I get chills.
as I promised, I wanted to read you some headlines that I like when you just Google your name, right? And it's really fun, okay?
This is why I don't Google myself.
Yeah.
It's too
Austin
scary.
Butler reveals advice from Laura Dern that changed his life.
Huh?
Empire, David Lynch on The Fablemans. Laura Dern encouraged me to do it. What Laura Dern said when I came out to her as queer during our interview. Like, it just continues, Laura Dern, Laura Dern, Laura Dern. And I think about, like, even the people that we know, all right, like Andrew Garfield, like you have such a great, interesting, like, exchange of creativity with so many people in this industry. And I think back to Bradley Cooper, and I'm mentioning this because I know you have a movie that he directed out. You've known him for a long time as well, too, right?
Yes.
Like,
yeah. And he's been, such an incredible teacher to me, because he really let me in his process of cutting. I mean, really the development process on Star is Born. So I learned a lot just watching the process, from casting to rewriting. But to be in and around the edits of his first two films, watching different cuts, is such an education for me. So in a way, I had a second hand with Bradley, even though we were close friends for the last decade at least, to know his language as he's exploring, his journey as a filmmaker. And then we made this movie, Is This Thing On? And it's coming out in December. And
Will Arnett?
With Will Arnett, who's incredible in it. Incredible. Yeah, that too was just, amazing. And right now, people are like, "Oh my God, you're doing press." First of all, I get to hang out with you, and I get to do Q&As with Noah or Bradley. So I'm so happy. I'm with my friends talking about movies. And there's nothing I love more.
It's so great. I think about David Lynch, and that partnership at that point in your life, to me, was the thing that was like, undeniable and still relevant today. We're still talking about it today. People are still referencing those films constantly. So that's why I just wanted to ask. It was just out of curiosity, because I realize that in an actor's life, a casting director is huge.
Oh,
and it's the difference between success and failure, being in the room and not, everything, an actor's life.
Everything. And in this case, Pam Rack, who was assisting Joanna Ray, like, they brought me in the room, and I remember him meeting me, and we talked about everything. I think it was like 45 minutes, and I didn't understand why I wasn't auditioning. And he hadn't seen my work, but Joanna and Pam had referenced Smooth Talk, which they had seen in Maybe Mask. And he trusted his casting director to let him know that they believed I was a talented actor. But the fact that he made those choices off of pure instinct, because I never read for him. Like, I never, he just felt in the room that it was the right person for the character. And then he asked to go to Bob's Big Boy with me and Kyle MacLachlan and have lunch together. the chemistry, all the things were right, and I had the great blessing of my life for sure in that moment.
I have a couple more if you have a little bit more time for me.
Yeah, I have plenty of time.
That I ask everybody that comes on the podcast. Mm-hmm. So the first one that I get really interesting answers with, and this one is going to be complicated for you because it's about birth order.
Okay.
And about like how our birth order and whether you're an only child or you're one of five, or how that has affected how you are in the world and has contributed to who you are as a human being sitting across from me.
Krista, going so deep, you guys.
This is a deep cut, everybody. For those that know, this is a deep cut.
I am an only child to Diane and to Bruce, both who remarried and did not have other children. My mother is an only child. So the relationship already is so specific. But my parents had a child before me who passed. And so my birth order actually is being second. And as complicated as this sounds and as true as this is, in a way, I came in to try to make it whole again. So I think there's the inevitability of the birth order being specific to the dynamics in the marriage at that time, the dynamics in each of their grief at that time, and when they divorced, the dynamic of like my mom and I holding on to each other for dear life kind of energy. And so to dedicate my life to the same craft as my parents while also working beside my mom and my father as an extra on sets, but then working with my mom from age 21 to several other projects all the way through the TV series Enlightened with Mike White.
You did a book.
And we did a book about birth order and relationship and you know, what we've said and not said to the people we love before it's too late. Themes of J. Kelly resonant in that. And so I think that I'm sure that has a lot to do with, you know, my career connection to my parents, my career with my mother, and what found family means to me. If you are an only child and you have a profession that gives you summer camp, you're going to find your siblings. And that's what I've done with Noah and, you know, the filmmakers we've talked about, Greta, Bradley, you know, like that you find your people. George and I 40 years ago, you know, you find your people and you stay close because there was nobody else in the house. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to get siblings. And I have. And I have, as my girlfriends are truly my sisters.
And you really have community. So the other one is, what's your JOMO? What's your joy of missing out versus FOMO?
So my JOMO, big rooms with like minimal conversation that doesn't get to go deep. Brutal.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen who are huge fans of Krista, Krista goes deep. Krista and I can find each other at one of these events and we find each other in a corner and it's like, oh my God, how are you really?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? What, you know, we go right there. But as we know, if you're in a big space where the space doesn't allow for genuine, deep connection, I'm like, eesh.
Yeah.
I find that very, very difficult.
Any irrational fears left at this point for you?
Oh my God, yes.
What a great response right there.
I am in love with nature. I am terrified of nature. That sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it is my happy place. Spiders, snakes, sharks, like terrified. And
Oh, wow, that's a
because
whole-
of movies.
That's a whole list.
Yeah, I blame Steven Spielberg and he knows it. I mean, I spent trauma time in swimming pools because of Jaws. That's an irrational fear, Krista, and I'm
It
sure
is.
they're coming through the drain.
Yeah.
I saw Stranger Things. Shit comes out of
Yeah.
sinks.
Yeah.
That thing came up out of a sink and just like grabbed people's faces. I saw Alien. I'm not down. I don't like where things can come up and grab you. I have some irrational fears I've got to get over. And I was bit by a black widow spider when I was a little girl. I have a lot of fear around like things can hurt you. So yeah, I need therapy, deep therapy.
All right, my last question. What's one of your favorite memories or a memory that comes to you often?
I remember the feeling. I was 6. I was wearing shorts, so you know when you kneel down on your knees and you can feel that it hurts a bit. So I remember the feeling in my body of the position I was in when I was given the blessing of Martin Scorsese offering me the chance to be next to him while we were just outside a bathroom door. So I had to kneel on my knees to kind of see through the door jamb, if you will, as he filmed my mom and Ellen Burstyn in a scene in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. And what I remember isn't the scene. What I remember was that they had tried to take, and he went into this tiny bathroom, and I watched he and my mom whispering to each other and getting so excited by an idea, and her thinking about the necklace she was wearing, and him like, yeah, say that, talk about that, just keep going, share the story, talk about it, like improvising and dancing. And I remember feeling, I got to do that. And that I wanted to do actually wasn't acting. I didn't know what acting was yet. It was getting excited with another person about shared ideas, and those shared ideas built this whole other thing. And that, I will never forget that moment. For sure, I became an actor.
In that moment. All right, so you're very busy. And I want to know, what is there left in your mind as an artist that you really want to do? And you talk a lot about directors. So there's obviously, when's that happening? But aside from that, what is there something that you have, the next decade that you want to do that you haven't done yet?
In terms of work, I get very excited by those connections and relationships. I'm excited to learn more in terms of filmmaking. And yeah, story is cracking open in new ways to me. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll explore more things in storytelling that I haven't done before. I want to know the world more. I feel it's wild. I've been so privileged to travel so much in my life as an actor. And I love the places that I've been blessed to get to know, because I don't go as a vacationer for 4 days. Like, I live somewhere for 3 months on a movie. But I want to understand the world better, to understand global politics more, and our home being this earth. So I want to learn a lot more about how I can be of service to everyone that's, connected to the same pulse I'm connected to, and yet I don't know their world, their community, their friends, their family, their food, and there's a lot of the world I have not explored. And to do that with my children, who are my favorite people on the planet, would also be amazing. I don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
Back to Jay Kelly, for sure.
Don't want to miss it.
Yeah. So there's a lot to do. And clearly, my parents have shared with me that you and I will be doing this podcast again in our early 90s.
Let's hope so. I mean,
Because
it
we
might
are
be
not going to
something
stop
different. Who
working.
knows,
Yeah,
right?
It might not be this room. It could be a porch. Let's go Andy Griffith, Don Knotts.
Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, would love it.
So good. It's so good to see you, Laura. Thank you
so good
so
to see
much
you.
for coming on Skip Intro. And I can't wait to have you on again. And I can't wait to the next time I see you in a big crowded room and I get to steal a moment.
Me too. And thank you for just being the most beautiful orator of film, but also just an amazing friend to get to talk to about all the things we love.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.